A finance employee in Hong Kong logs into a video call. On the screen, he sees his chief financial officer. It is the exact same face from 100 company meetings. He hears the same voice. He feels the same calm authority. Around him on the call, half a dozen other executives appear. He recognizes them instantly, both by name and by face. They need him to move money. They ask him to transfer a significant amount, and they ask him to do it quietly. Over the following days, he will authorize 15 separate transfers. 200 million Hong Kong dollars. This is roughly 25 million American dollars. And just like that, the money is gone into accounts he will never see again. Here is the detail that should unsettle every company on the planet. Not one single person on that call was real. This is the story of how a piece of technology built to connect people became one of the most effective fraud weapons ever deployed against a corporation. The company under attack was not some obscure startup. It was Arup. Arup is a London-based engineering giant that is 78 years old. It has roughly 18,000 employees spread across 34 offices worldwide. This is the firm that helped engineer the sales of the Sydney Opera House. It is the firm behind the famous Bird's Nest Stadium in Beijing. This is a name built entirely on precision and trust. In January of 2024, a finance employee at the Hong Kong office received a message. It appeared to come from the company's chief financial officer, based in the United Kingdom. The subject line mentioned a confidential transaction that needed to be handled discreetly. He was not the only one contacted. Similar messages had gone out to several employees inside the company that week. He was simply the one who worked in finance. He was the one person with the actual authority and access to move that kind of money. His instincts did exactly what good training tells you they should. He suspected phishing. He hesitated. So the people on the other end offered him the one thing capable of erasing that hesitation entirely. They offered him a face. They set up a live video call to confirm everything in person. He clicked join, and the chief financial officer was right there. The boss was talking and nodding, exactly as he always did. But he was not alone with the financial director. Several other colleagues joined the call too. These were people from within the company itself. They were faces he had sat across from in real meetings, and voices he could have picked out of a crowd. According to the Hong Kong police, every single one of them, apart from the victim, was synthetic. Their faces, their voices, and even their small mannerisms had been reconstructed by artificial intelligence. The scammers used publicly available footage, recorded conferences, old video calls, company meetings that had been filmed and quietly uploaded online. This is exactly the kind of material almost anyone in a modern workplace leaves behind, without ever thinking about it. Think about what that actually required. Somewhere, a criminal operation had spent real time gathering footage of the real executives. They studied how these people spoke. They analyzed how they moved their hands. They watched how they paused before answering a question. Then, they fed all of that data into software capable of reproducing those people live. It was convincing enough to fool a colleague who had known the originals for years. Crucially, this kind of technology is no longer locked away in intelligence agencies or Hollywood studios. The leadership of the company would later acknowledge a terrifying fact. Tools capable of convincingly cloning a person's face or voice have become available to almost anyone, regardless of technical skill. And this is the detail that made the whole scheme work. It was not a single deepfake speaking to a single victim. It was an entire fabricated meeting where every voice in the room confirmed the exact same story. The chief financial officer wanted the transfer made. The other colleagues treated the request as completely routine. Nobody in the room pushed back. In social engineering, this is one of the oldest manipulation tactics in existence, simply rebuilt with new tools. Psychologists call it social proof. When everyone around you appears to agree, disagreement starts to feel irrational. or even reckless. The fraudsters did not need to convince one person to accept a lie, they needed to convince him that no lie was happening at all. A single email, no matter how well forged, could not have carried that much weight on its own. But a room full of familiar faces, responding to each other in real time, changed everything. They finished each other's sentences the way real colleagues do. That overwhelming display crushed any level of doubt that a written message ever could create. Believing he was carrying out a legitimate instruction from his own leadership, the employee proceeded. He made 15 transactions into 5 separate Hong Kong bank accounts, 200 million Hong Kong dollars sent out the door. This did not happen in one reckless click. It happened step by careful step. Each transfer was reassured by the last, because each one had been confirmed live by people he had no reason to doubt. The scheme did not collapse because of some brilliant piece of detective work. It collapsed the way most elaborate frauds eventually do. It ended through an ordinary follow-up call. At some point, the employee reached out to the actual head office to check in on the transaction. Headquarters had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. No meeting like that had happened, no transaction had been authorized. The entire illusion collapsed inside a single sentence. The company reported the fraud to the Hong Kong police in January of 2024. The following month, the police went public with the case. They did not name the firm at first, they simply described an elaborate scam in which every participant on a video call, except the victim, had been artificially generated. It took reporting from the Financial Times and CNN months later in May of 2024 to finally confirm the name behind the story. It was indeed Arup. The company confirmed it afterward. They told reporters that fake voices and images had been used. They also noted that despite the massive financial loss, none of their internal systems had actually been breached. The global chief information officer later summed it up for the World Economic Forum in a single, uncomfortable sentence. He stated that this happens more frequently than a lot of people realize. Security researchers would later point to this case as one of the first major examples of an entire multi-person video call being fabricated from start to finish to defraud a company. It was not just a single voice or a single face anymore. As of the most recent public reporting, whoever built and ran this scheme has never been identified. No arrest has ever been tied specifically to this file. The $25 million has never been recovered. The Hong Kong police have since made arrests connected to other separate deepfake banking frauds, but this specific file officially remains open. Since 2024, reported cases of executives, colleagues, and clients being convincingly impersonated through deepfakes have continued to climb sharply, year after year. Because here is the uncomfortable truth this case leaves behind. The raw material for a convincing deepfake of almost anyone in a modern company already exists. Every recorded video call is a risk. Every conference talk uploaded to YouTube is a tool. Every all-hands meeting saved just in case is a weapon. All of it is potential training data, sitting and waiting for someone with the wrong intentions to find it. For years, the security mantra was simple: trust, but verify. After this event, a growing number of cybersecurity experts now argue for something closer to the opposite. They say, never trust, always verify. This rule applies no matter how convincing the face or the voice on the other end of the call appears to be. The people who took $25 million never breached a single server. They never needed to. They simply built a version of trust that was convincing enough to walk straight through the front door. And that leaves one question worth sitting with long after this video ends. In a world where anyone's face and voice can be perfectly recreated, how do you truly verify who you were talking to?